Okay, we are having lively discussions here in Rauma. It's 2:30 Finnish time, so we will continue with the program for the SME Aisle final online seminar. Gentlemen, please. So we are continuing with the aspects of stakeholders, and we have Snyman from Walvis based Company. Nice to see you online. Hoping to see also face to face at some point. So please, Andre.
Hello, Minna. Good to see. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, and I think you can make it like a full screen if you want.
Yeah, let me go there.
Yep.
Is it better now?
Yeah, excellent, thanks.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. It is my pleasure to make a short presentation, online presentation on the visit we had back in 2019 to the Central Baltic. I will just touch on a couple of items, and at the end I will also touch on our company, Walvis Bay Salt. So give me the opportunity. So back in 2019, the delegation that had the privilege to visit the Central Baltic was Wilfried Emmanuel, who's the mayor from the town of Walvis Bay. We had Logan Fransman, who's from the rail company Namibia. We had Cindy Lou Abrams, Hasila, who is from the Walvis Bay Corridor Group. We had Patrick Navasep, he's from Namport, and myself being from Walvis Bay Salt. So we had quite a busy schedule and quite action-packed visits. We met quite a number of entities, as I've indicated on the slide, and also in the media, some publicity we received regarding our visit, and on the newspaper we can see the picture of Wilfried Emmanuel, who is the mayor from the town of Walvis Bay. The focus areas was mainly on technology and innovation, as well as ICT solutions, shipbuilding, maritime and logistics, renewable energy, with specific reference to solar, wind, wave energy, and then of course friendship and cooperation that I trust will continue for a long time in future, and I'm proud to can say I still have good contact with some of the people I've met in the time. So the program happened from the period 9 November to 17 November. The delegation visited Stockholm, Riga, Tallinn, Helsinki and Rauma, and Captain Heikki and some joined the delegations in all the cities. So on Sunday 10 November, started with the dinner with the embassy of Namibia in Sweden. On Monday 11 November, there was a workshop with 30 participants, the Walvis Bay corridors, connecting South Africa with the rest of the world at the World Trade Center. And there were also site visits to the company Bombardier, rail company, if I remember correctly, and also the port of Stockholm. Then on 12 November, was the Tuesday, the companies visited, we visited the company TTS and the Riga fertilizer terminal, and there was a workshop organized by LCCI and also MESOC. And then on Wednesday, 13 November, there was a site visit to the renewable energy plant Utilitas. I think I recall it was a very cold late afternoon. We met with the Estonian SME Aisle companies during a workshop, and that evening there was a dinner with the ambassador at the embassy of Namibia in Helsinki. And on Thursday, the 14th of November, we had a site visit to the port of Helsinki, and we had the Embassy of Namibia event, which included the history of the Finnish missioners in Namibia. And the last day, Friday, before we all returned back to Namibia, 15 November, we visited Rama, and there was a business workshop with local businesses, and there was also an event with Rama Marine Construction. So what are more importantly, the observations and the lessons learned? So I'll just talk through a couple of them. First of all, it has to be highlighted, I think the whole trip was very well organized, and it was professionally handled at all times. There is, from my side and from the delegates, more respect for the long history of the relationship between Namibia and Finland. The exposure that we received to local companies in Finland was really interesting, and that gave us opportunities for future engagement. Exposure to technologies and infrastructure used in the Central Baltic to increase efficiencies, especially in our business. Increase efficiencies all the time is of quite big importance. We met a number of potential companies. We enhanced partnerships, the possibility of enhanced partnerships and hopefully long-term relationships. And as one of the earlier speakers have said, we need to be patient. Some of these things may take time. So how is success measured of this program? Is a question I've asked myself. And how many business deals have really been cemented? From the angle I'm looking at, I can say perhaps not too many deals have been cemented, and the success is not only measured in the number of deals, but perhaps success is more measured in the relationships that are established, and over time the business deals will follow. I think as an idea, always Namibian companies and even our company will always first try to do business with other Namibian companies first. If there's an engineering company in Namibia and there's an engineering company in Finland, then I will first see if I can support my company in Namibia that is an engineering company before I go outside the borders of Namibia. But having said that, I'm the first to admit, I don't think we always have all the skills and all the know-how in the country. So what I can see as a possibility is some of the companies, as an example, Finnish companies, to look for potential technology partners in local Namibian companies and to become technology partners, as I've said. And by bringing, and for that sake, one can say shareholding or having a partner or a shareholder in a Namibian company, that may be the solution to speed up the improved volume of business between the two countries. So I think the partnership idea is very important with the private sector and as well as the academia, as we will also hear a little bit later from the professor. One thing that is always a limitation is also the restrictions in terms of work visa, work permits. But once there are investment in the country or investment in terms of shareholding, I think there's a way to work around the work visa and the work permit restrictions. And last but not least, I'm highlighting the importance of patience. It will take time, and then a previous speaker has highlighted the fact that that Germany is also, over many years, have set up a strong infrastructure in Namibia, and perhaps there may be a consideration of how things are done from their side, and there may be some lessons to be looked at. That is in a nutshell. I just want to show some pictures we had in the time, and we want to thank all of course, Dr. Minna for your leadership for this program. Also the SME Aisle business partners that were involved, the SAM team, the SME Aisle team, and also Captain Heike that were with us. And I can just mention, Captain, the idea of the salt bar has not disappeared. It is still in my mind. There were some issues with the COVID, and hopefully we can invite you at some time to enjoy the facility with us. And if I may, just quickly, I don't want to repeat because I have shown this once before, but I'm not sure how many have seen this. This is an aerial picture of our business. The company was established in 1964. We're running a mining license area, and the total area of our operations is about 5,000 hectares. We're part of a big group in South Africa, one of the businesses, and this graph is showing the growth of our company over years. And in 2019, we reached 1 million tons of salt that were produced. We at the moment look at expansion from underground brine to make the business even bigger. And here you can see where the product is moved from our operations to the port before it is exported. And we're looking at innovative, still with the increase in fuel prices, we look at technology to the viability of a pipeline to pump the salt in a saturated brine solution from our operations to the port. So that is a new project we're looking at. This graph just shows you where we export all our product in all different ways and means. But of course, we are also looking all the time at ways and means to add value to our products. Although our process starts with seawater, and from seawater we produce salt. But what else can be done with the salt? I will revert back to that point just now. This is a picture of our salt processing plant that was commissioned a year or two ago, and there you can see the stockpile. So a new development is that we are now working on with a partner is the production of cattle licks, lick blocks and salt licks, where there is minerals added to the blocks for different cattle and for different animals. And the brand name is under wind salt. And this is a new development we are working on, and that is to improve the performance of animals. So I just thought this is a new item to share with you. And if you go on Google and you enter wind salt, you will see much more about this. Now, opportunities for that Walvis-based salt, our company have with interested companies abroad, are automation, of course, alternative energy. The ambassador already alluded to the new developments in Namibia regarding this, but more focus has to go into alternative energy, and we are sitting next to the sea. We've got waves, we've got wind, so there are opportunities. We look at innovative bagging solutions. I already alluded to the logistics, where we want to look at the pipeline. We have introduced bigger payload trucks already, where the payload of the product is improved from 30 tons to 60 tons. We look at downtime reporting systems and also business modeling to enable what-if simulations. So that is in a nutshell. Once again, I want to thank the program, the SME Aisle program, and Dr. Minna for your capable leadership and guidance about this. For me, it was a very interesting time, and hopefully we will stay in contact. Thank you very much. I'm open for any questions.
Thanks, Andre. Thanks, Andre. Yeah, great presentation. Yeah, I'm hearing myself from the double. So okay, now it's okay. Yeah. So from the pictures again, great memories from the business delegation on 2019. That was November. We had crazy wind here in Rauma. So just one example that what to do when you have great friends and business cooperation, that you're going to swim for the Baltic Sea. So it was my first and my last time because of the Namibian friends. Hasn't happened ever since. So are there any questions or comments for Andre? Yeah, Captain Heikki, please.
Timetable for the salt bar.
Heikki, 1 year. 1 year.
1 year. Okay.
Yeah. And my answer for Andre for your comment or question related for this business delegation, that how many contracts have been signed. You are correct for that trip. Straightly, I think none. But unfortunately, we were not lucky with the COVID, because it was November 2019, and we were supposed to have this very big delegation in March, April, coming to the Namibia, South Africa and Zambia. So that would have been the next kind of face-to-face event. So, but I think, as you also said, that now it has been like a bit slower and COVID triggering things, but the cooperation continues, and there are so many new opportunities also for the cooperation and the business together in the near future.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Yeah, I can see Heikki's think about the salt bar. So we'll be there when it's established.
Grand opening.
Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah, you are invited to the opening, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Andre. We will continue with the program. So we have Donnee Kruger from Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal. So wishes from South Africa. So can you hear me?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and great to be working with SME Aisle again. We did meet in Finland, and we've also met in Durban prior to that. And we look forward to just giving you an overview of what the opportunities for collaboration are. I'm just going to share my presentation if possible.
Yeah, perfect.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Thank you so much. The objective really is just to give you an overview of what investments there are from Finland currently, what the current trade is, and what we think the areas of cooperation are if you are looking at trading with South Africa. For us, the European Union is a very important partner. In South Africa, the European investment constitutes about 77% of our foreign direct investment and about 35% of our trade. So a very important partner for us. As a province, we've been marketing actively into the Nordic region since 2017. We had a very big delegation that visited the entire Nordic region also in 2017. Locally, we work closely with all the Nordic embassies, and we also are a board member or have board representation on the Nordic South African Business Association. So just to give you some idea of what their interaction is locally. If you look at KwaZulu-Natal, we are the second largest economy in the South African context. We are home to Durban port, which is the largest container handling port in Africa. And if you travel north, like you can see on this map, you will see an area called Richards Bay. Richards Bay has got the deepest port in South Africa and handles about 50% of South Africa's cargo by volume. Our population is about 11.5, and our province's size is about 94,361 square kilometers. So we always try and put it into context by saying it's about the size of Portugal. And our contribution to the economy is 16%. The largest economy, or the largest provincial economy, is an area called Gauteng, where Johannesburg is, and that constitutes about 33%. And then the Western Cape constitutes 15%. So just after us. How we are trying to position ourselves within the country is really as the trade hub of the country. 65% of the imports and exports that go through our province travel through the Durban port, which makes a big part of our economy dependent on the port. So upgrading that is currently a massive priority for the country. You may have seen, if you follow the international news, that there is a big project to upgrade the port, the Durban port. Recently, they also put forward a tender for the upgrading of the container terminal. We've also recently completed the new passenger terminal as well. If you look at South Africa and KwaZulu-Natal, within the national context, as I mentioned, we are the second largest economy. If you look at our trading partners, the US, UK, China, Japan is KwaZulu-Natal's main trading partners. As a provincial government, South Africa is a federal state, so national is responsible for policy making. Provincial government is responsible also for policy and special projects. So we have a number of what we call provincial agreements with areas around the world where we have formal collaboration aimed at promoting economic development. And we're hoping to increase these agreements as well to the Nordic region. That being said, these are not the only countries we work with. We have got specific operational plans that we carry out with specific regions also. But these are the formal agreements that exist. KwaZulu-Natal, as I mentioned, aims to be the leader in export trade and the premier destination for investment in South Africa. I've spoken a bit around the ports, but I think what is interesting is our province is home to two special economic zones. The one is Durban Trade Port, which is a customs controlled area around an international airport that is at the heart of a 60-year master plan. And it's only greenfield planned aerotropolis in Africa that's been planned from scratch. And then we have also the Richards Bay Industrial Development Zone, which is really aimed at heavy mineral processing and manufacturing related to the Richards Bay port, which is also home to the largest coal terminal in the world. If we look at KwaZulu-Natal, we have what we call our economic cluster, which is a cluster of agencies that work together to promote economic development. I've spoken around ourselves. I've mentioned also the two economic zones. We also have two provincial development banks, one for small business, which is of interest to SME Aisle specifically, and then also our growth fund that looks at greenfields projects as well. And then we have specialist agencies like tourism agency, also film commission, which forms part of this cluster, and also the IHMEC KZN wildlife that focuses around biodiversity preservation. And together we form what we call the economic cluster, and we work quite closely together with regards to implementation of projects. As an agency, we work very closely with development banks. We work with the Small Enterprise Development Agency. We also work nationally with other provincial investment promotion agencies, and also at a national level with the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition. We work with industry associations, export councils, chambers of commerce, government departments, and also municipalities to create linkages. So in essence, if you had to ask us what we do and how we can support a small business looking at expanding or trading with our region, we provide data, we provide information on business and regulatory environment, we provide linkages between public and private sector. We also have some feasibility funding and also marketing assistance funding. Even if you're a foreign company wanting to do business in South Africa, the same incentives would apply. And then also the facilitation of funding then for bigger projects. If we look at what we call our priority sectors, they're summarized here. I mentioned our customs controlled areas, which we are vigorously marketing, also our aerotropolis, maritime, tourism as well. We've got two World Heritage sites in our province. One is the Drakensberg mountain range. One called the Isimangaliso Wetlands Park or St. Lucia Wetlands Park, which is the Salt Lake estuary that runs about 200 kilometers up to the Mozambique border. And so tourism is a massive sector for us as well, mainly also for the domestic tourism sector. And then what we call an inclusive economy. South Africa has got a large unemployment issue. At the moment, we're sitting at about 30%. So what we are trying to do is to localize our value chains to create proper jobs. And then environmental management. You would have seen in the news in the past 2 weeks that our province has been hit by a lot of floods. So a lot of focus around, upgrading of infrastructure. I think going forward, also looking at how we efficiently deal with, sustainability issues and environmental management. KwaZulu-Natal, and especially our agency, Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal, is the official investment promotion agency. We also have a project that we run with the Department of Trade and Industry called the Invest South Africa One-Stop Shop. It is a one-stop shop facility for a company to register and then also to gain information on business and regulatory matters as well. Trade and investment benefits. Why do we want to trade as a province? I think what we've seen after COVID, we can't have all our eggs in one basket. We need to increase trade. We need to be more competitive. We need to localize our supply chains. We need to come up with new supply chains as well. And then within our operational units, we have different operational units internally, but in a nutshell, it's our job to try and attract companies to do business with us, either through investment or trade, to then keep your business there and then to also grow your business and help you export. Some of our incentives, I've already mentioned what our services entail, but I think what is important to mention is we do incentive application support depending on your sector. We provide market intelligence. We also have an export information portal that can tell you which products are available from our markets. We have a number of financial mechanisms aimed at international capacity building programs, getting our products into markets, which you can also apply for as an international company. We have a financial assistance support scheme aimed at looking at feasibility in a specific sector in our markets. And then we have our technical assistance fund as well that kind of looks at pre-feasibility also. It's a grant fund and it's a matching fund. It's got to be matched 50% by promoters. If you look at our current environment, we've done a lot of planning post-COVID, but post-COVID we've also had the recent floods. So we've had a number of challenges to deal with, but at the same time we've also seen the emergence of new sectors and our own companies innovating quite vigorously. So it's also been exciting for us. I think there's been a huge focus on sustainable development goals and how you use that as an opportunity. Because of the global impact that it's had. Here I'm just listing some of the statistics, in terms of people that have been pushed into extreme poverty by 2020, and really the need for using sustainability as a business opportunity to also take care of the socio-economic development aspects. What we've seen in the past 2 years from our SME sector as well, huge focus on technology development, digitization. In terms of policy and governance, globally, we've seen a lot more interventionism in national policies for trade. So if you're doing trade consulting, I think there's a lot of opportunity for trade strategy for companies. And sustainability, because there have been huge changes in market-driven changes in products and processes, huge focus around creating new value chains. What we've seen in terms of our own businesses, we've seen reshoring, people bringing back some of the services that they previously outsourced, regionalization, people really looking at the regional opportunity, and also with the Africa Free Trade Agreement, what opportunities there may exist for small business development, diversification, not just sticking to one product, but expanding that, and then replicating that from one area to the next as well. About 2 years ago, we did an analysis to see what is our value proposition as a province. We do have a large labour force. We have got good transport infrastructure, land at a competitive price, very good access to markets, and a resilient economy based on a strong manufacturing base. So we've clustered our sectors in what we call our traditional sectors, where we already have a strong foothold or competitive edge. And then also our growth sectors, looking at, what are the trends going forward? How are we going to grow the economy? If we look at automotive, Toyota is our largest OEM in the province. It is responsible for about 50% of South Africa's exports. And they've also been allocated or identified as one of 7 plants for Toyota in the world, doing the new hybrid cross. And we are busy as a province with a very big automotive supply park, because there are about 600 component manufacturers that will be supplying Toyota as well. Clothing and textiles, really looking at how they've diversified into other sectors and also niche markets. Chemicals and plastics, traditionally that's a very strong sector for us. But I think there's a huge focus now on biodegradable plastics. Just by the way, in the middle of lockdown, our biggest investment announcement was actually by a Finnish company, Huhtamäki, doing processing and packaging and building a new facility. So we were very grateful to the Finnish market for that announcement. That was good news. Growth sectors in the manufacturing space, really looking at pharmaceuticals. We do have companies that we've registered. There's a company called Xylomed that has about 2,200 patents looking at partnering. Mineral beneficiation, really looking at processing of coal. One of our biggest investments was also by a company called Rio Tinto for expansion of the mining sector or the mine that they are mining in Richards Bay. Also looking at advanced manufacturing. We've had some inquiries from the Nordic region in process engineering, also in wastewater treatment as well. In tourism, traditionally we have nature-based arts and culture, houseboats, and also conferencing. But big projects that we're working on, there's a big medical tourism facility called Utakela that has received 60% of its funding from the Afrexim Bank. looking for additional funding as well, but really looking at the medical tourism sector and also step down in terms of that. Agriculture, a big focus around the processing aspects of it. A big project in this instance is a company called MAC where the biggest commercial farmer in macadamia nuts has partnered with some small-scale commercial farmers in growing macadamias. South Africa is the largest exporter of macadamias in the world. And also looking at cut flowers and then also potential of further R&D into medicinal and herbal plants. In terms of property and infrastructure development, really looking at green buildings and smart buildings. And I know Finland has got great technologies within that as well. And then services, transport and logistics, I think a huge focus around ICT, specifically in the education sector. For Finland, some of the companies that we've dealt with are companies called Fundi, looking at the education sector. And then in terms of oceans economy, really looking at small craft harbour developments, oil and gas, and then our new trade passenger terminal as well, and downstreaming opportunities with that. Here is just an overview of some of the major products. I've mentioned some of them. We are really the sugarcane province as well, so looking at sugar exports and also property development on previous sugarcane land as well. The export of engineering and consulting services, pulp and paper, leisure boats, machinery, jewelry, also clothing and textiles and body armor. A big investment that we had a few years ago from the Nordic region is a company called Beauregard Unitech that went into partnership with South African paper and pulp industry. It's called Sappy Cycle, and they produce cellulose, which they used to export and process and ship back, but now it's done in KZN. So really looking at technologies like that, which we call import substitution projects, where we can create processing aspects of that. Here are some of our top 10 destinations of exports from KZN to the world, just to give you an overview of that, hoping to increase our traffic and our trade in niche sectors with the Finnish market as well. This is South Africa's top 10 trading markets, and it gives you an idea of the trade flows around that as well. Our top 10 export destinations you've seen. Also an increase, I think, also in focus of assisting companies that set up in South Africa getting into the African market as well. KwaZulu-Natal has got certain industrial hubs focused around those sectors that I've mentioned, with a view of increased job creation, because there is a skills pool available in these areas for it. And the special economic zones I've mentioned, Richards Bay has got a land portfolio of 216 hectares. It's had a number of investments in metals beneficiation, agro-processing, port optimization, also a technopark and renewable and clean energy. And then Durban Trade Port, which is home to our airport. It's a 2,840 hectare site. It really is focusing around aerospace, more light industrial, R&D. We've had some great investments into the special economic zone in areas like electronics by Samsung and LG as well, in optic fiber cables. The Hertzamaki investment I spoke around is outside of the special economic zone, but also in that area as well. So I think going forward in the next 10 to 15 years, a very exciting project for South Africa, but also then looking at green technologies and sustainability as a cross-cutting sector for all this. We also, as provincial government, we sit on what we call the World Routes Committee, where we try and lobby into specific markets for increasing air traffic into our area. So these are some of the linkages flying in and out of our region as well. Also gaining traction now after COVID. These are some of the companies that are represented in our province. Not an exhaustive list, but just to show you, Unilever has its African headquarters there. Defy is a company that manufactures white goods that has gone into partnership with a Turkish company called Arçelik, and they've expanded extensively across Africa. Huntsman Dioxide, Mr. Price, which is a retail group, a local South African retail group, Bell Equipment, which is a yellow metal manufacturer, BHP Billiton, Tonga Hewlett, which are large property developers and also sugar manufacturers as well, together with Ilovo. So I think a lot of scope, and we also work with these companies quite closely to see how we can localize supply chain, how we can also create opportunities for small business. I think what is important to mention,
we are a bit behind the schedule, so if you can start to summarize your presentation.
Yeah, I think just important to mention, we host an investment conference every year and an export week, also opportunity and platforms for companies to participate. So wealth of investment opportunities, we are diverse, we are sought after emerging markets, and we also are a gateway into South Africa and also the region. Thank you very much. These are our contact details if you're keen to get in touch with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Donnee. Some real hands together from Rauma. So thanks, great presentation. And as we can see from your presentation, that there are various opportunities in South Africa, just in your region. So that's something that we scratched in the SME Aisle project, but there are a lot future opportunities. But let's move forward in the program. So we are getting back to Namibia. So we have Professor Samuel John from Namibia University of Science and Technology. So Sam, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Are you having some presentation or are you giving just a talk?
I have a short presentation. Let me see if I can share the, okay, yeah, I think it's, let's see. Here we go. Can you see my presentation now?
Yeah, we can see the presentation. It's great to see you also online.
Yes, indeed. It's been a while. Yes, so thank you very much, Dr. Minna, and all the participants. I joined when the representative, I think, of the EU in Zambia was doing his presentation, and I could say that some of the things that I'm going to share also have been said by various speakers, so I will not take too much time on those aspects, but just to mention that when you look at the SME Isles focus areas and the way they picked those focus areas, it actually was well thought through. And our university participated in a way because we have had a very long standing relationship with the university Satakunta, and I'll explain that in a short while. So the key activities when this whole project started, the SME Aisle was to have a detailed market analysis and feasibility study developed and have an adaptation of concept products and services and capacity building of 20 selected pilot companies from the Central Baltic region, and then events in both the Central Baltic region and in surround Africa, especially Namibia. So Namibia is seen as the soft entrance into African market because of the stability, of course, political stability, but also the rule of law that have prevailed for quite a while in Namibia, and also the desire for Namibia to become a knowledge economy by 2030. So the vision of Namibia and the key activities of SME Aisle actually overlap, and that gave a boost to the whole process. And in our case, as a university, we were more involved in conducting the detailed market analysis and feasibility study, which we completed, and we had a very interesting findings with regards to the various sectors that we were looking at. For example, the energy sector, between maybe in the last couple of years, say the last 5 or 10 years, there are a lot of enabling policies that have been passed by Parliament that is opening up new opportunities in the energy sector. And this seems to be continuing, seem to be opening even more and more. Now, our partnership between the two universities, and as I think it's been mentioned either by Captain Hickey when he was doing his presentation, or by I think also we had the other partner that also mentioned this partnership. It's coming way back from 2012. So we've had about 10 years of collaboration between NAST, which is Namibia University of Science and Technology, and SAMC, which is the Satakunta University of Applied Sciences. If you look at the two profiles of the two universities, you can immediately see that there is some kind of similarities. I just used three aspects to show the similarities. We are all established in the 90s, even though I know that for SAMC, some of their programs, for example, the maritime program started way back. It's about 140 years now. So, but it started, of course, not as a university, and eventually the university was established in 1992. And then if you look at the student population, it's interesting that at NAS we have about 13,000 students, and SAMC have about 6,000 students. And this also reflects the demography of Africa compared to Europe. So you know that that the young population of Africa is quite huge, very young population, very dynamic. And so we have to admit more and more students. So the human resources of human capital in Namibia and in Africa as a whole is just ready to be tapped into. This is a picture of the NAST and SME Aisle members when we had a meeting in our hotel school, our beautiful hotel school in 2018. Minna is seated right there, and we have a few partners that were there. Our former Vice Chancellor, Professor Chama Chivikwa, seated right opposite Minna. It was really good time to just be able to meet. This was long before COVID-19 created the distance. And then we looking at Namibia as a very important location in terms of access to inroads into Africa, especially the landlocked countries that have their dry ports in Walvis Bay. And also the location of Namibia actually makes it a very good point of doing business, or vessels coming in through our port of Walvis Bay. The port has been expanded. It's very modern. And I remember during one of the visits, it was still under construction, but now it is actually operational. I had the opportunity of visiting. It is quite modern. Everything is well done, and there is a lot of surveillance. You know, the whole port, the new port, is actually quite modern and nice. So what I'm looking at actually is looking at the impact of this whole program of the SME Aisle. And I think the reason why it had the kind of impact we can say it had is because of the model it adopted. This model is called the quadruple helix model. And in this model, you need both industry, government, academia, and civil society in order to create very strong technological clusters that will eventually push the country forward. If any of this link is not available, there is a greater potential of problem. For example, if civil society is not involved, if citizens are not involved, then you have the situation where you can have programs or project or industry that is being set up that is not accepted by the civil society, and this could lead to misunderstanding. And so this principle of the quadruple helix model is very effective. And I think that this is the model that SME has adopted, and it has worked quite well. Now, looking ahead, as a lot of other participants have already mentioned the fact that businesses in Southern Africa and of course in Africa in general takes time to mature. Things don't happen overnight here in Africa, and there are abundance of human resources, but these human resources require training to adapt to new technologies. So this type of program takes time for us to be able to assess the impact of the program. So I think that the follow-up on the SME Aisle project would be to consolidate the initiatives that have been started, because it will take a while for you to see how this initiative will consolidate and make the type of impact that you are looking forward to doing. So I think that follow-up program on this would be assessing the impact and following up on partnerships that were formed. I think but last speaker also mentioned the fact that how do you measure the impact of this project? So I think one way is to have a follow-up where this is actually looked into carefully. And then I think another issue that I want to mention, which also have been mentioned also, I think, by the EU ambassador to Namibia, also mentioned about the green hydrogen project. But the whole energy, water, and food nexus is currently the focus, especially with the green hydrogen development. You find out that in Africa, with the COVID-19 pandemic, it has exposed a lot of loopholes in our economy, not only Africa, but the world's economy. It has really revealed to us certain weaknesses that we need to work on. And so the issue of energy, water, and food comes to the fore. So Namibia is now focusing on green hydrogen development, even though we've got abundance of sunshine, we've got wind around the coastal areas, but you find out that Europe is now refocusing their attention towards green hydrogen for energy. And so Namibia is working towards becoming an exporter of green hydrogen, but also that we can make use of this energy source that we're talking about. So at NAST, we have what we call the green hydrogen vision and outlook. And we, as a university, we are also pursuing the green hydrogen project. I've been asked to be the driver of that. So at times they call me the Green Hydrogen Commissioner. They've used different names to define my role. But in simple terms, all the green hydrogen project at NAS is the projects that I'm currently in charge of and driving. And there have been a call by the German government and BMBF and also Namibian government, and we've put in quite a number of applications. But the important thing I want to show with this diagram is that our green hydrogen will have to be from seawater, because we don't have enough groundwater to be converting to green hydrogen because of the competition with drinking water, potable water. So what we propose is to use the seawater, and then we use renewable energy sources in order to power the electrolyzers, and then also to desalinate the water, which means that we have water that we can use as potable water, but also we can use this water as part of an agricultural project. So this is like your energy, water, and food nexus that we are talking about. And then we're looking at different applications, electricity, of course, cooking, e-mobility, and agricultural activities, and of course, export to generate funds. So the green hydrogen project is quite a big one. It's an ambitious project for Namibia, But I believe that with the support of all the key stakeholders that this is going to work. So maybe in the next SME Aisle part 2 or SME Aisle phase 2, I think we should also look at the idea of incorporating green hydrogen energy into it. Well, in conclusion, Africa is still the next great investment destination. We've got the manpower, we still have a lot of resources, natural resources. And I believe that with partnership with our friends from Europe, we should be able to develop even much stronger economy here in Africa. And I think also, just to re-echo what have been said, it is nice that whenever companies come into Africa, that they try to create partners with similar companies, just like what SME Aisle was doing, matchmaking. And so you develop both local people and also developed your company to have African outlets. But as a university, we are also very interested in developing the capital, the man need. This is one big problem we hear from industry, always saying that they cannot find the appropriate manpower that they need for their various projects. And us as a University of Science and Technology, we are a technological university and we're very practical. Our students must do industrial experience. They must have at least 1 year of industrial experience with us before they even graduate. So this gives room for more and more practical hands-on. So these are just a few comments and a few remarks from my side, and then I'm ready for any questions if there are any. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Excellent presentation, and it's really that things are developing. So we didn't discuss about the green hydrogen when the SME Aisle project was planned and not in the feasibility study. So I think there are great opportunities for the future cooperation. But I propose that we will go now further with the program to give up the timeline, and then we can have some discussion at the end. So our next theme will be not just Southern African markets, but having a bit broader aspect that Interact Central Baltic has had several projects with these export activities. So we are having Ülari Alamets, who is from Central Baltic Programme. So he will explain how Central Baltic has been supporting different organizations and companies to these distant markets. So please, Ülari.
Thank you, Minna. Well, how much time I have, first of all?
You have officially like 15 minutes.
Okay, but it would help if I can do it a little bit faster, I guess.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much for giving this opportunity to speak about the big picture, so to say. We don't have any independent or separate story as the Central Baltic Programme. Our story is actually the cumulative story of projects like SME Aisle plus 15 other similar projects. And I'm just trying to give this general context and overall logic why we have been working with expert team, what has been our general approach, and what have been results insofar. I tried to share presentation. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see it.
So, and Content-wise, yes, indeed, I am going to explain a little bit overall logic, what has been behind supporting projects like SME Aisle and other projects to support companies to enter to distant markets, and then a little bit about results and achievements. And with very few words also, what is the last situation with Central Baltic 2021-27 first call, because we are continuing our work actually in supporting the export development. Just to remind about this Central Baltic intervention logic, we have been trying to achieve changes and contribute in 11 specific themes, specific objectives, and export development has been one of those. So more exports by the Central Baltic companies to new markets has been the overall objective. And the overall approach, what we have tried to follow is that that the results we are, so to say, producing by the cumulative contributions of supported and well implemented projects should be measurable and tangible. Our potential investment into the export development is not huge. In 2014-20 period, approximately 20 million euros has been invested by Central Baltic Programme together with the project partners' own financing. And it is going to be additional contribution in a similar amount, approximately 20 million euros. We are going to invest also in the 2021-27 time period. So basically, we have been looking for projects which are cross-border cooperations, so to say cluster cooperations, which target the markets they choose. And we have been looking for achieving 10 successful cluster cooperations. And successful cooperation has been defined as the cooperation within which during project time or reasonable time after project ends, at least one sale or sales contract is achieved by participating companies. And that has been the opportunity for mainly mature, small and medium-sized companies. And we have getting new distant markets outside of European Union and European Free Trade Area. And as I said at the beginning, we don't have any separate or additional experience. Our way of working is exactly via the professional intermediary organizations, export development organizations, like in SME Aisle partnership you have. And we have been emphasizing the market entry activities taking place really to be able of achieving those sales for participating companies. But I take this opportunity to explain a little bit this overall logic, not to be accused of being very narrow-minded. We do understand that there are many things which are needed to do before getting to the export markets, trading outside your own country. There is need for preparing, there is need for finding contacts and agreements before you get to the sales, and there are many things which follow hopefully after the entries to the markets have been achieved, like additional revenues by participating companies and profits and their increased value added. and of course the potentially new or maintained jobs, and eventually also more taxes paid. And we see that, of course, there are additional benefits. This is a trade. This is not export. It's not one-way traffic. There are relationships to the both directions, and there are investments happening. There are positive impacts to regional supply chains. Hopefully, relationships which were emphasized by the first speaker of the panel. We hope that cooperation culture and also capacity skills develop for the participating organizations, and for participants companies, these paths, many paths from competition to cooperation will take place, and of course learning from each other and cooperations to continue after project financing is ended. And yes. Doing that, we have been emphasizing that we want to work with projects and support projects which have partners who really know the needs of a target group, who know clearly or are quickly able of identifying the targeted markets, and they are focusing their activities to rather not do large number of markets. And really in the activity plans, the focus is on sales, achieving sales, and that is reflected in the development work plan parts, which are kind of active, aggressive market entry activities. And just to run through the results, altogether, we have been able of supporting the implementation of 16 projects. So SME Aisle is one of those, and next project presented also in this seminar, IHMEC is a second. So, but in addition to those two projects, we are having 14 more. And at the beginning of the program, we actually wanted to achieve that there are going to be 10 such cooperation projects which are able to take participating companies to targeted markets. So now we can say that out of supported 16 projects, 13 have been able of achieving sales for participating companies. Out of those 16 projects, 12 projects have been between 3 or 4 Central Baltic countries. Baltic countries as Finland, Sweden, Estonia, and Latvia. And the 4 projects have been bilateral projects. And if to count, which is always a little bit complicated thing, to count those companies who have really been able of entering to those targeted markets, then by now there is approximately 100 real companies having had their business deals and contracts and sales. And these approximately 300 more companies comes from a bit different sectors like tourism and film productions, where actually the methodology or how to count those who achieve sales is a bit different. That's why also the potential number of companies is larger. And all in all, approximately 2,500 companies have been actively participating in the project activities of those 16 projects. And I did a little categorization or simple analysis and looked at this portfolio of supported 16 projects, and here are the names, acronyms, and the sector topics. So you can see, well, in addition to SME Aisle in the middle of this picture, the majority or big share of our portfolio projects are focused on the services, or then services products, a mix of those. And only few were working with real products, goods. And the interesting mix like health tech, ICT services, smart city solutions, game industry, rural tourism, music industry, film production, solutions to anthropogenic emissions, indoor hygiene, maritime clusters, mechanical engineering and mechatronics, wooden interior solutions, and breeding animals. So this is the interesting mix, which also reflects somehow the overall Central Baltic economic structure. And if you look how many or market-wise, which markets have been targeted, so here we can see actually that the approach we emphasized very much that be focused and try to concentrate your resources, time, funds to the rather limited number of markets has really worked well for most of sectors. So the most of the projects have been working with 1 to 3 target markets. But at the same time, you can see on another side, specifically ICT sector projects, also smart city solutions projects have been working actually with a rather big number of single markets. Of course, the good question is how you define the market. You can see here also that in some cases the market is defined as the China, and in some cases the one single province, of course, counts as the comparable market to any smaller country, province from China or even province from India. So this is the picture of the markets targeted, and maybe just to try to bring out some more aspects from this joint experience, so to say. We have had the projects which have known their target markets from a very beginning. Also, we had the cases when the start of a project just had a shortlisted target markets, and choices or selection of markets was made later. What has been also characteristic very much because of the Corona COVID time, there have been changes into the selection of markets for a project. And in regard sectors, there have been projects targeting to single, also traditional sectors, but the more and more cross-sectoral approach has been in place, and I think very well that is also illustrated by SME Aisle project. And in regard of activities, just a short list which have been most frequent or maybe also interesting activities included into the complex activity plans. All projects, 16 projects, have used, as we foresaw, the complex activity plans, not single activities. And just to conclude and give you a kind of direction to the future, we are from a Central Baltic Programme side continuing our work to support our region's companies trade with distant markets. So we have one dedicated program objective, more export by SMEs. And now we are in the middle of first call. And right now I can tell the numbers which are here on the slide. We have received 12 project applications, project concepts, with partnerships and ideas to take companies to new markets. There is approximately 20 million euros applied for that. And for priority one, which has 2 program objectives, actually the overall applied sum is equal to 84% of the total available budget. So we have a good competition is the conclusion of that. And that was my story. And to the end, I also wanted to actually thank on behalf of Central Baltic Programme SAMP, SME Aisle team, specifically Minna's leadership for promoting opportunities of Central Baltic Programme, and also telling very professionally and well stories about the results and achievements of your project. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ülari. Very nice presentation, and I think it's important that we all see that it's not just about SME Aisle, but there's quite some other activities also in this Central Baltic Programme for heading for the new markets, and there are really some similarities, but also differences on heading for the market. So let's continue with the program. So then we have one example from a different market than Southern Africa. So Tiina Mäkitalo, who has been also working for SME Aisle project lately. So Tiina was the project leader for IHMEC project. So she will tell the IHMEC story. So please, Tiina.
Thank you, Minna, and good afternoon, everybody. As Minna mentioned, my name is Tiina Mäkitalo, and since I have had the pleasure of working in 2 export projects that have been funded by the Central Baltic Programme, I'm going to first introduce you shortly this IHMEC project and then try to reflect some similarities and differences between these projects and the target markets. As you can see, sorry, jumping slides. The word IHMEC comes from the words of indoor hygiene to Middle East construction markets. So as Ülari told us earlier, quite many of these export projects has concentrated to one market, and the focus of this IHMEC project was particularly Saudi Arabia. And what do we mean with this indoor hygiene? It basically means infection prevention and control with built environment. And as you can see from the logo of the project, the joint value promise of the companies and partners that participated to this project was breaking the infection chain. And since the project was dealing with the construction industry and built environment, it's quite easy to see that no single company or product can deliver this type of a value promise. So the basic setup of this IHMEC project, it was in a way quite similar to the SME Aisle project, but still a bit different. Even though we had clusters from 3 different Central Baltic area countries, the basic setup of this IHMEC project was that all these clusters were complementing each other. IHMEC was connecting professionals that were having expertise on designing, building, furnishing, and maintaining different kind of buildings. And Finland was the main cluster, so to say, because we had the expertise on this indoor hygiene. And as you have heard earlier today, that the SME Aisle project was in a really good position when starting the project. Since SAMP has already a long collaboration with Namibia and had different partners and stakeholders there already in place. But in IHMEC, we sort of started from the scratch. And that's why one extremely important success factor for our project was that we managed to get a Saudi person to move to Finland actually and be part of Turku University project team. And Mr. Ibrahim Al-Zahrani was really the key person that could assist us to getting to know this Saudi market. because in the Middle East, all business is very personal, and creating trust is essential. And we could have never succeeded in building the networks and convincing the key stakeholders of our concept without having this cultural know-how provided by Mr. Al-Zafrani. And if I compare our project actions to the stories that you have heard related to the SME Aisle project, I think that it's quite clear that if you wish to succeed in export, the collaboration and the people, they are the key to success. And also in the IHMEC project, quite similar way as in SME Aisle project, we did delegation trips to the target market, and also collaboration with the embassies and the support from national export organizations was really essential and important, not only in providing their networks, but also in creating the trust in the market. And similarly as in SME Aisle, we had both delegation coming from Saudi Arabia from the target market to visit us here in Finland, and we did delegation trips to the target market. What was a bit different in this IHMEC project compared to the SME Aisle was that this indoor hygiene concept was quite new, not familiar to the key stakeholders or potential customers in Saudi market. And that's why also the scientific support and convincing the lead customers that what is this indoor hygiene and that we have scientific backup that this actually these products do what they are promised to do. It was quite important. And we chose the Saudi as a target market because it's a center for center of Muslim world. They have the two holy cities, Mecca and Medina, and thousands of people are traveling there to participate in these religious mass gatherings. And one aspect of our project was that we wanted to initiate knowledge transfer between the Nordic countries and with the Saudi Arabia. Since the Saudis had the expertise on having a large amount of people gathering together, which is quite a challenging situation from indoor hygiene and infection prevention perspective. And we also had MOUs done between the Saudi partners and between the Finnish universities, University of Turku and SAM. And most important step in the project was that we also initiated partnership with a Saudi company called AaVekellari, and the company started to be introducing the indoor hygiene companies and their products to the market. And the AaVekellari company also opened a new business line concentrating on this indoor hygiene. And since this was quite a new, innovative concept, we utilized the approach of how to commercialize innovations. And that's why we wanted to contact also the lead users, different policy makers, and public organizations, not only potential distributors. And I think that building trust is something that was key to both of these projects, this SME Aisle and IHMEC, and is essential fact in getting the collaboration started in these two markets. And what was also similar to the both projects was that we both wanted to also create a platform to assist in knowledge sharing and future collaboration. The COVID situation has been mentioned multiple times, and of course that hindered the face-to-face meetings, and the way it challenged the export activities. But since for the IHMEC the value promise was breaking the infection chain. So what the pandemic did for our project is that we didn't just need to justify anymore why this infection prevention is important. So in a way, for that project, also the COVID has a silver lining. But thank you for this opportunity to introduce also IHMEC project.
Yeah, thanks, Tiina. Very nice cooperation of a very different market, but definitely a lot of similarities, but also differences. So time is running, and we will have to move forward for today's activities. But Ambassador Josob, so I can see your nice message, but do you still have time to say some greetings for the SME Aisle project team and the companies? Ambassador, can you hear me?
Yes, Minna. Yeah, I've put a long message there on the.
Yeah, we will copy paste and share your aspects. But if you want to have some last words in our successful seminar, so please, the floor is yours.
Thank you indeed for the opportunity. I've been sitting here, nice and quiet, listening to the feedback that a lot of the participants were giving, and feeling quite happy that you guys have been able to do a lot of the work that we are assigned to do as well. in terms of making clear what the opportunities are, what the ways are of doing business, and what the do's and don'ts are actually of engaging in a new market. It is true that Southern Africa is unfamiliar to the Baltic region, but from the engagements that I've seen, and the reports that I have now received, it is something that people are eager to undertake to find out what is there. The trailblazers from Roma have really shared a lot of the information and a lot of the experiences with those that were not in the region before. And from the feedback, we can see that people are ready to engage. Still a bit hesitant, perhaps because of those issues that have been raised in terms of companies not being there yet to venture outside. I think the one point that Mr. Snyman has made about Namibian companies looking at getting business from within first before they venture outside is equally true probably for Baltic companies, that they would want to do their things here, and only when they have grown enough would they want to venture. But I always want to say that Namibia, Southern Africa is equally an operational space where you can do what you want to do to expand. And of course, you have seen the experience in Zambia, where a company that was not perhaps big enough or had not had a long history had gone and tried out its product. And I'm sure they are now successful, and that is one of those lessons that other companies should perhaps be learning. On our part, and the ambassador, the representative for the EU, has said quite a lot about our role as ambassadors and as government of officials, in that we want to just give the information. and explain certain things and invite, but we can only talk really. It is the business that has to make that judgment about whether it is good for their business to go out somewhere. And I hope and wish that they will go out. Of course, a lot of opportunities have been identified. Green hydrogen, the oil find, those are just the latest ones. But Namibia as an economy is a small economy in a big country, in a big region, with a, you know, if you ignore the size of Namibian population, there's about 300 million people in that market space. So you should not really be bogged down by this fact that this is a small economy and you cannot be flourishing in that economy. We should be looking at other countries in that region. You can use Namibia as a springboard into that region. Now, I know time is not on our side, but I just want to thank you, Prof, for leading this project and really for putting the information out there, bringing people together, for them to look at Southern Africa region and beyond with it through a different lens, if I can call it that. Albeit that people, as I said, are still a bit hesitant, and it's understandable. Unfamiliar territories, you have to look out quite properly before you can engage there. But I can guarantee you that the Namibian market and the Southern African market is ready to engage with the Baltic countries. There's a lot of experience that you have. There's a lot of technological innovations that you already have, and it's that technology that can allow us also to have this win-win situation and partnerships. So I'm looking forward to SME window, as you said, that will have a different vehicle that will allow us to continue the conversation and continue to keep the momentum that this has created. The e-platform, I still have to go there and see exactly what it is offering, but just from what was presented, I think there's valuable information there, and people already can make use of it. We of course remain, both myself and my staff and the Finnish ambassador in Windhoek, remain ready to assist where necessary and to facilitate where necessary. Because ultimately that is our role, to facilitate your entry, your engagement, and to deal with some of the landmines that you may be experiencing as you enter these new markets. So I wish you all well, all the participants. I know time will give you the meaning in engaging wherever. That now that we have established this friendships, now that we have established and shared this information, yeah, people will look at it in ways that can push us into that direction of moving to Southern Africa, and for Southern Africans to come to the Baltic states. On that note, I want to thank you, and thank you all.
Thank you, Ambassador. Even more and more aspects why to continue the cooperation and the business with Southern African countries, especially with Namibia, South Africa, and Zambia. So I think we have had a great day today. So project partners here in Rauma, people in Teams, and there will be also YouTube videos of this event, so those who couldn't engage for today's activities can follow up the great talks we have had today. So So I would say I'm having nothing to add. So somehow maybe feeling hopeful that I would say that COVID has been slowing our cooperation almost like 2 years, but the mindset has been there. There's the power and there's the willingness of going further and great opportunities for cooperation and business between the Central Baltic area and Southern African markets. So thank you all, thank you project partners, thank you all the presenters of today, and thank you all the stakeholders who have been involved in SME Aisle. So the work and cooperation is continuing. So thank you and wishing you sunny afternoon from Rauma.
Thank you so much.